Can you imagine what it's like to be a garbage collector? Picture this. It's winter, 5 a.m. The air is so cold, it feels like it's biting your skin. Your breath billows out a thick fog, and you pull in heavy industrial bins full of rotting food waste. As you tip the bin into the back of the dust cart, the truck, a foul-smelling liquid splashes into your overalls. And as you stand there, tired, cold, aching, and quite smelly, the warm torrent of the world flows past, going to cafes and offices, and they seem to live in a world 1,000,000 miles from yours. And as you stand there, they don't look at you. They look through you. In that moment, you are a necessary shadow. Bear with me just one moment. It's a little bit warm. That's better. For 10 years, that shadow was me. I left school with no qualifications. I spent most of my life believing that I was stupid. I believed the lie that I would achieve nothing in life. Can you imagine walking into a shop in those overalls? You feel the coldness and the silence from the shopkeeper. They don't really interact with you, probably because I really did stink. But when I go in that same shop in this suit, it's very different. It's, "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" Yet, I'm the same person, the same brain. It's just a different fabric. But what they see are the overalls. They failed to see the outlier with a vision that this world desperately needs. And I'd like to talk to you this morning and prove to you that we all have different visions. So what I'd like to ask you to do, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes just for a moment, please. If you could, just close your eyes. Now, with your eyes closed, I would like you to imagine and visualize an elephant. Not the word, see the animal right there in front of you. I'll give you a moment. Okay, open your eyes. So what did you see? Did you see just a grey shape, a grey concept of an elephant? Anyone? Who saw maybe a cartoon-style elephant? Who saw much more than that? Maybe a bit more detail. Well, many of you will see the grey concept of an elephant, just a general shape. Some of you won't be able to visualize anything at all, and that's okay. However, for us outliers, we see the detail. When I imagine an elephant, I can see it there in my mind's eye. I can see the wrinkly skin, the little brown eyes and the long eyelashes. I can see its little tail whipping round and the feet pushing up the dust. I see the bigger picture. I see the detail. When we think of our brains, we often think of a flat-line profile. We believe that people are intelligent, or they're not. But this isn't always the case, especially with us outliers. Our cognitive profile is more like the horizon of the Balkan Mountains. We have what was called a spiky profile. We have the towering peaks, our strengths. And for me, that's problem solving, it's pattern recognition, and it's critical thinking. I can see patterns in data and see the bigger picture, the detail. I see the eyelashes on the elephant. But along with those strengths are the deep valleys, the valleys of struggle. And for me, it's anxiety and sensory overload. At one time, it was communication, but hopefully, I'm a little bit better at that today. So when I talk about sensory bombardment, it, for me, is the ticking clock in an exam room. It's the hum of a refrigerator that I just can't get out of my ears. It's the scratch of a clothing label. So when I started to discover all of this about myself and my spiky profile, I had this idea in my mid-30s that this Binman, with no qualifications, that left school feeling he was stupid, was going to become an accountant. That was it. I was set on, I was going to become an accountant. My friends and family laughed. They said I was crazy. And to be honest, on that journey, I thought I was crazy many, many times. But also on that journey, I started working for a business, and they'd asked me to look at a return stock process for inventory and stock that wasn't selling in some of their 600 branches. So I went to a partner business, and I watched a team of 5 to see how they were doing it. And I started to think, they're just seeing the grey concept. They're not seeing the detail, the eyelashes. So I went away and I developed a fully automated process. Bear in mind, this is a guy that left school feeling was stupid, but I just saw it there. I developed this process that would look for dead stock in 600 branches and redistribute it to where it was alive and selling. By the time I left that business, it had saved that business £11 million. £11 million from a guy that the education system, they made him believe he was stupid. See, our education system and our workplaces are built for the flat line. They really are. So the thing is, with these strengths and weaknesses, to enable our strengths, we need the right environment. So I'd like to talk to you about environment a little bit. And you might all know about the Bulgarian rose. It's famous, it's quite rare, and it produces a very expensive rose oil. However, that rose, it needs the particular conditions of the Rose Valley to produce its gold. It needs the correct soil, the correct climate, etc. If you put that rose into a desert, then it's just going to rot. It won't bloom, it will just wilt and die. You won't get that gold, that rose oil. All you'll get is a shriveled, worthless plant. It's just outliers can be roses if we're not in the right environment. And many people can. Getting the right environment for you is key. When I was on that garbage truck, see then, I was a rose in the desert. When I was in that exam room with a ticking clock, I was wilting. But give me a laptop, a quiet room, and a problem to solve, I saved a business £11 million. But this isn't all about me. The world is full of outliers. I once worked with a man called Ian. He worked in a warehouse and he counted stock. He worked the night shift. And during the day, he looked after his disabled wife. Now, Ian was seen as a little bit strange, a bit different, and quite militant. But do you know what I saw? I saw a frustrated genius. And Ian was a genius. He really was. While looking after his disabled wife, he developed a computer code that would have cost the business hundreds of thousands of pounds. I spoke to management because his dream was to become a computer programmer, but like me, he failed in the education system. Unfortunately, management saw a warehouse worker, and the door was firmly slammed shut. Unfortunately, a year later, Ian died of cancer. His untapped talent was lost to the world forever, all because we look for a flatline profile. I've struggled, and I'll openly admit, that I struggled with anxiety and depression for a lot of my life until I started to find out how my brain worked. I always felt I was a bit different, and I just didn't fit in. And everything just felt like it was my fault. However, there was a little bit of fire in my belly that wanted to achieve and to dream and to become something else. On March the 9th, 2023, I got a phone call that changed my life. A practitioner told me, Gavin, you are autistic. I'll openly admit, I don't care, I cried. But not because I was sad, but because for the first time in 4 decades, the world made sense. I realized I wasn't broken. I found the reason for my strengths and for my weaknesses. It all started to make sense. I went on then to pass all 16 of my accountancy exams. Not only that, I became the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants Student of the Year. Thank you. It was great. I was invited to a posh ceremony in London, and it just seemed unreal coming from that background, that working class background, to have achieved that. I then went on to work for a global automotive manufacturer, and there I was a finance business partner for 12 executive directors, and I looked after a budget of £50 million, all from that young lad that left school feeling he was stupid. You see, in the corporate world, we tend to get what we call groupthink. Everyone starts to think the same. And this is because we hire people that look like us and think like us. They have the same backgrounds. But if everyone has the same background and thinks the same, and you're all looking in that right direction, you're all looking at that great concept and not seeing the details, who is going to see the cliff that you're about to walk off of? Huh? So we need cognitive diversity in business. It's a must. It's not because it's a nice thing to do. It's because the problems of the 21st century are complex. We need that variance of thought. We need people to think differently. So can I ask you, please, next time you see a man in a high-vis vest or a woman that won't make eye contact, or someone that seems a little different. Don't look through them, because they could be the outlier that is about to see the eyelashes on the elephant that is about to trample your business. Yeah? My name is Gavin Simpson. I was a Binman. I am a chartered management accountant. And I'm here to tell you the world will be a better place when we enable and value the visions of outliers. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.